Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 8 of Following the Energy. So I have been going live every day. I'm going live for 14 days in a row to talk about all the tools that have really dynamically changed my life and business. So it's 14 days of Following the Energy. I'm saving them all on here on IG as well as YouTube to a playlist. So it's very easy for your binging pleasure. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to talk a little bit about distractions, what they are, what's actually happening, and what you can do about it. Because distractions are something that really can hold our attention and slow us down from what we really want to create. So, wow, I just got so much there with the attention piece. Our attention is a very valuable resource. Our attention is creating our reality. What beliefs are we looking at? What are we looking outside of ourselves to confirm how we feel about ourselves? Where our attention is and on our points of view quite dynamically creates what we experience. And so it can be really challenging when you're seeking to create the next version of you, the next iteration, that expanded, abundant, confident self that's out there, if you are looking at what's right in front of you, what's already been created. Because what's being reflected back to you right now is simply who you were being before, right? And if we constantly only use that as feedback, we just stay stuck. We stay stuck. And so it takes work, effort to retrain our attention to where we are going, to put it forward to what else is possible. Now, I get this is where distractions come into play heavily because distractions hold our attention. So I want to hear from folks who are here. What are some things that you know distract you? Distract you from choosing? Because generally in this reality, and psychology would say, well, distractions are because we don't feel comfortable being present. Like I don't feel comfortable with whatever emotions, feelings, sensations are coming up. I don't feel comfortable with that. And so I need to go distract myself. And now I'm out. Is it social media? Is it binging Netflix? What is it? And so I want to look at this from a little bit more of a micro lens within the context of business. Because to me, it's more than being unwilling to be present. It's actually a refusal to choose. It's a refusal to choose something. When work gets challenging, instead of thinking, I find an easy fix like Instagram, right? A social group that doesn't add to your progress. So that's exactly it. It's like when something gets hard, then I go to distraction. So we could say, yes, okay, I'm uncomfortably being present with the difficulty, but if we go a level deeper, what is it I refuse to choose and be? Because when something gets difficult, what actually is happening, we are going into judgment very quickly. And if you definitely watch previous lives from this whole stream playlist, because I talk about how judgment activates our nervous system. And when our nervous system is activated, we don't have access to the creative centers of our brain. We can't show up. We go into freeze mode, right? It's almost like we get paralyzed in choosing. And so the issue is here, so now you're aware, it's like, okay, so it's like, I don't want to be wrong. That's it. I'm refusing to be wrong. I'm refusing to be seen as bad. I'm refusing to be seen as whatever. So I'm refusing to receive whatever judgment might come my way. And so that is what the distraction is protecting us from. That way I don't have to receive and I don't have to choose. Choice and receive, choice and receive, choice and receive. Is this landing? Let me know what your thoughts are on this. So it's a little bit more than just unwilling to be present. So, for example, I'm trying to think, this was probably like a couple weeks ago, and I was looking, or maybe even last month now, and I was looking at different, offers or how I want to rework things in the biz. And I saw it in myself in slow motion. I was going into an awareness, like I had the downloads of a lot of information, a lot of things I could choose. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, that's interesting, that's interesting, that's interesting. And I was like, well, there comes the overwhelm, and it was like kind of starting to melt me. And then I felt my nervous system go into just this subtle contraction, right? That's the judgment happening, the nervous system going into a freeze mode. Oh, I don't want to be wrong. I don't know what to choose. Oh my God, let me do anything else but this. Right? And so I was like, okay, I get that I'm getting a little stuck here. I'm getting stuck. And stuckness is the same thing. Stuckness is a refusal to choose something. I get that I'm getting in a place where I'm unwilling to choose. So even though I know this, right, and I saw it happening in real time, I was aware, I saw myself go into like kind of contraction, overwhelm, freeze. I'm aware of this, that didn't shift it. What shifted it was me asking questions of how I could facilitate myself out of it. So I was looking at, okay, would I be willing to choose one of these things right now? No. Okay. I don't make myself wrong. Right? Because if I went into shame and more wrongness and judgment, that's going to make it worse. So I just say, okay, I'm unwilling to choose right now. I'm really unwilling to choose. So what else could I do? Well, maybe I'd just really love to clean the house. Maybe I would just love to clean. Okay, Janine, is that a distraction? A bit. And how is it contributing? Could it move the energy in me? Could it get my body moving, my attention off stuckness, and create something else? Right? And so it's like, once I spent time doing that and seeking to be out of the space of making myself wrong because I couldn't choose in that moment, then it freed me up for the energy to get moving again and to get out of the extreme need to get it right. We are all just trying to prove our rightness. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be accepted and acknowledged, right? That's all where we're functioning from. So everything you're creating is from that space. And as an entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, it's like you have hundreds of decisions to make in any given day. Lots of choices. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a skill to get stronger at, to get more comfortable with, that I could just choose. Let me see what's going on. It makes a lot of sense. Boredom leads to distraction too. Absolutely, yeah, because it's kind of like the boredom is also a refusing to choose something. It's because it's kind of like, when like kids are like, I'm bored, but they have a whole room of toys, or they could go outside, or they have an iPad, or they have all the things, but it's like, I'm bored. It's like, are they really bored, or what's going on? It's the same for us. We have all these things that we could choose, but we're just refusing to choose something. And I say that because it's direct, it's to the point, but it's not a wrongness, right? It's not a wrongness to be refusing to choose it. It's just like, that's where I'm at. Just call it out for yourself without shame, without judgment. Taking the judgment out of distractions. Yeah, because it's really easy for folks to go into making it wrong. And it's like, what is it contributing? Because for me, I remember it was like a Monday, I think, because I like to leave Mondays open to create or back end stuff, not take meetings or things like that. And in following the energy, I'm like, oh, the energy is getting contracted and I'm refusing to choose something. I'm going into some freeze here. Okay, what could I choose that could get me out of this? And I wasn't energetically in the space to just choose something. Because sometimes that's what I'll say to myself, Janine, just choose. What would it take? Just choose. Because the choice will give us more information. We think we need more information ahead of time, but it's actually the other way around. We get more information after. And so sometimes it is enough for me to say, okay, just choose. Like, what if you had an interesting point of view about it, if you couldn't get it wrong, right, all the things to get me out of wrongness, then what would you choose? And so that works sometimes. Sometimes that doesn't work. And that day it was not, I was like, oh, I'm aware of like a lot here. It wasn't just like, what branding color should I make this graphic? It wasn't that. So it was like some more like bigger decisions. So I got that choosing to, let's say, intentionally distract myself, intentionally take my attention off freeze mode because I had a hard grip on it, that was going to move the energy more. Because one of the other options would be to just sit at the computer and stare at it and like force myself to get it out. And I know from like what the experience of being in flow like is, being able to generate, create, and it just kind of flows out of you. And not that creation is always like that. However, it feels really good when it is, and it's just so much more ease. So it's kind of like, well, what would create the flow? Rather than me fight what's happening, what would it take for me to move my attention somewhere else and choose something else? Right? Because fighting is resisting. Fighting means I'm making what's wrong happening and I have to resist it, and then I'm making myself wrong, and then it's more freeze. So rather than fight it, I look to, what else could I choose here? What else could I create? And then it meant actually spending time cleaning the house versus spending time on the business. But time isn't linear, right? It's like if I had spent the 3 hours sitting at my computer, like trying to get it out, versus go take the 3 hours to clean the house and then later, okay, boom, 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 choose, done. Well, then I was much more efficient. Although initially it looked like I was distracting. So you just want to look at being really intentional with what you're choosing. Intentional with like, what is this distraction creating? Because the ones that are not helpful are where we're just going unconscious to it and we're refusing to choose. It's the, oh crap, I should have changed the other thing after making the choice for me. Yeah, and so it's kind of like, wow, okay, I just got a ton of information. I maybe had an awareness that it would have been the other choice and I chose this. So isn't that interesting? What if you didn't make yourself wrong for it? What if the oh crap was like, oh wow, I just got more awareness. Oh wow, I just got more information. Right? Because that's the thing, is we just go into making ourselves dynamically wrong for it. Isn't distracting myself resisting to? I feel like I missed the third choice, fight, distracted, or what would be light. So with these things, I look to get pragmatic. What's gonna work? Because if I'm in the state of like refusing to choose, if I'm just refusing to choose, then for what purpose do I keep forcing myself to choose? Because I could ask a question and see if I would be willing, but if I am unwilling in that moment, then I am in fight. And so to me, I'm intentionally putting my attention to somewhere else to get things moving again. And with the trauma responses, I sense that you're asking is, we have fight, so we're in resistance. We have flight, which is fleeing. So I could see like distraction being more of that like flee energy. I need to leave the scene, right? But like those things are more, they're, I was going to say problematic, or not as helpful when we are going mindless about it, when we're not being present, or we're not aware of what we're choosing. We're not consciously choosing it. Because for me in that moment, it was a very conscious choice to go clean. It was like, I'm going to choose this. I get I'm unwilling to choose something right now. So what would it take to facilitate me to be willing? Ooh, it's to move the energy somehow and get my attention off this for a second. Do you see how that's a bit different? And it is following what is going to be more expansive for me in that moment. What do you do when we are what do we do when we are choosing distraction because we have a task which demands a challenge higher than my capacity right now? Yeah, great question, because all of this is teaching us to build a greater capacity to tolerate discomfort, like a greater stress threshold, window of tolerance, term they also use within trauma. So it's like, it's just an interesting point of view that you've decided that the task is greater than your capacity, because that's a conclusion. Now, it may be accurate. However, we have to ask a question first to get awareness. Because if you come to conclusion first, this task is greater than my capacity right now, well, then you've decided and you're right. Versus if you asked, well, what would it take for me to have the capacity for this right now? And then it might sound like you going to clean or going to cook or taking your dog for a walk or something like that to build up the capacity again. So that's what I would look at first, is ask the question, what would it take to have the capacity right now? Not seeking for, oh, all of a sudden I'm just going to shift my mindset and now I'll have the capacity. It might require you to choose something else, right? So you might get an awareness of you need to move your body. And that's how we can facilitate the energy. Yeah, I see the difference. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Because it's like, if we're just so focused on making ourselves wrong with everything we choose, we could be in that fight and flight all day long. And a lot of people are. Especially in life, in business, just because it can be so challenging. So the last little piece that I do want to highlight with this is it comes down to when we're refusing to choose, it's because we're unwilling, if we go a little bit deeper, we're unwilling to receive judgment. Because we've made the judgment so real and true and significant. So it's like, if I chose something for my business and then, well, I don't know, people didn't like it or no one bought it or whatever, then it's like I'm unwilling to have the capacity to tolerate whatever comes with that. So it could be the judgment that I'm like projecting at myself and making it all real true, or the judgment from others. It might look like, I'm thinking of a different example. It might look like if you're wanting to post for your business or just post on social media and you go into all this freeze, quite naturally, it's because we are aware of putting ourselves out there and all that energy, and then we're refusing to receive whatever energy will be projected back to us. And being able to receive is another really important skill, because it's like attached to our willingness to receive money and all that and abundance, and the capacity to receive and hold energy is something really needed if you're going to grow a business and just feel some ease in life in general. And so it's kind of like we show up in a way that matches exactly our willingness to receive. So like I would say a long time ago, I didn't do lives. Like for years, I very rarely, because I wasn't ready or willing to receive all that energy in that moment of having eyeballs on me and just all of that, and being willing to trust myself in all the things. And so I wasn't willing, so I didn't choose it. And it also I didn't get it was like super required at the time. And now I'm at a place where it's like, time to go live more often, be more exposed, and increase your capacity for receiving. I was like, oh, wow. That changed so much, because I was just like, I get it now. Like the willingness, again, it's at that threshold to receive being seen, being heard, and all these things. So you can see kind of why I was saying from earlier videos, all of this information is like building upon itself, all of these topics. So definitely go check them out. When you say receiving energy, is it only negative? No. So energy is just energy. I mean, energy is, we put our spin on it, whether it be positive, negative, right? Because it's like, oh, I'm willing to receive positive judgments about me. Good job, you go. But I'm unwilling to receive negative. And it's like, it's all just interesting. It's all just vibration. So me going into, well, I'm only willing to like receive positive and block the negative, then I'm still not willing to receive. Right? So it is being willing to receive all of it without a point of view. Really seeking to get out of attaching significance to it, because that's what sticks us. Because Gary Vee talks about this a lot. He talks about, he's like, if I make the negative or like all the positive comments about me really valuable, then I'm at effect of all the negative comments. And I was like, that is so brilliant, right? Because it's like, if you make positive comments about you, like really impactful about your worth, then you're at effect of all the negative comments. And really what people say is all based on their point of view. So it's getting to a place where we can lower our energetic barriers and receive without making it significant, real, true about us. A lot of this applies to students. As a PhD student, distraction is one of the challenging things to navigate to produce something meaningful. Yeah, 100%. Because I'll get that in business and in school when it was like, if I was resting, I should be doing something. Like, I need to be working on the biz, I need to be working on schoolwork. There's always more. And so then it's like, going into that. So it's like, well, rather than work on it and get it done, let me just go distract myself with something. So that's something to get clear about, because what is that? Oh, wow. Yeah, it's like if I'm using distractions rather than creation, then again, it's like I'm refusing to choose something. And I really have to seek to unlearn this need to be always busy, to be always proving something. It's definitely prove it energy, that I always need to be creating something. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so it's so interesting. So take a look at this for yourself. See where you maybe go into distraction. What could you choose to facilitate yourself back to whatever you're refusing to choose, right? So it's like, it might look like a distraction. However, if it's like a very intentional choice to continue to work to where you're going, then what is it creating? What's right about it? So, all right, y'all, we are going to talk, let's see, tomorrow, day 9, about energy boundaries. So this is going to be a little different than your typical boundary conversation. And I want to remind folks that Activate doors are now open. So this is my membership. That's a 6-month commitment to learn about all things energetics and pragmatics in business and starting an online business. And next month, we're going to do Let Your Biz Tell You What to Do, because I want folks to start to get that they can become energy fluent and be able to make these choices with their business, right? That you don't have to be at effect of, I don't know what to choose and now I'm stuck. Well, let me figure out this like perfect marketing strategy because that worked for someone else, and so I'll just choose that. It's like, no, we need the skills to be able to become energy fluent so we can communicate with our business and get clear about what's going to create the greatest. So this, I'm very excited about this membership because it is fire. So it's on pre-sale price through October 1st. So use the code ACTIVATE at checkout if it pings you, or DM me if you have any other questions. But we are open now and I would love to have you. All right, I will see you all tomorrow.